high yield, but average yield is still very low because of many other factors. Optimization is required, and if those things can take place together, I'm sure that we can reach to that target. Integrated pest management that also help us to reduce the cost, because we don't need to add so much of agrochemicals for this protection. But at the same time, the disease and pests are emerging or coming more and more in future. To get a better crop, we need to develop technology to get a higher yield and reduce the yield loss because of those fungi and bacteria and nematodes particularly that causing so much of damage. As climate risk management, I mentioned already, but we need to develop material that can be drought tolerant, that can be saline tolerant, that can be high temperature. Those technology can be applied now in pulses. As I mentioned, as for other crops, this dynamic science and technology has already been incorporated. That what we call allele mining. We can know now the genomes, genomics, and the DNA, and the genes and QTLs that present in all the genome of the pulses. And we know and we can combine them in the molecular breeding platform. And within the laboratory, we can spend 2 to 5 years to get those new combinations. And the scientist and the institution or the company who would be first to develop those kind of technology incorporated in the crop improvement, I'm sure there will be champions in the future to get very quickly those improved material and also in the farmer's field. At the same time, it is also possible to develop the hybrids for all the pulses. There is another efforts are being going on. That's we focus 12 5-year plan in ICAR so that we can address those things. One of them is very important, that photothermo insensitive varieties. So that if we can develop the pulses which are in the progress, the pulses can be grown throughout the year, throughout the calendar year. That means any time or every time we can grow pulses, what is possible today for rices and many other crop plants. So if we can make our crop so versatile and flexible, and we can change the crop calendar accordingly our need and the demand. And I am very much definite the future need of India's pulses. It's not just 32 million tons by 2030. It is rather underestimated. I'm sure that the country is realizing that how much pulses we need. If we can use all our fallow lands, if we can increase the productivity, and if we can put these things in a public distribution system and the need-based and supply that we can assure, and with the bit of giving the higher minimum support price, the farmers' incentivization will also help increasing the production. Even then, our need would be more as lower, middle, and higher middle class population of India has realized and started consuming more pulses. Although our per capita consumption has gone down, but this trend, if continues, if the government comes to support the resource poor people to have pulses at an affordable price, I'm sure demand will be much more than industry, private sectors, as well as all people would benefit from that kind of demand and required need. With that one, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this research update on pulses and a wonderful snapshot of what is in store for the future. Dr. Datta is absolutely confident, saying if GM technology is introduced, our yields can go up to 1.5 tons a hectare. I think the world will be awash with Indian pulses in that event. Maybe it's a little distant future, 5, 6, 8 years, maybe, but it's still possible. That's the potential. I think that's been wonderful. Any quick question? He can take probably 1 or maybe 2 questions in the next 2 minutes. Anyone? Yes, Sudhakar? Yeah.
I'll get the mic, Sudhakar, so others can hear your question.
He talked in the morning.
Dr. Datta, an excellent presentation. I really like that very much. as of now, there are no commercially available GM crops anywhere in the world. And I know the work is going on in India, especially looking at the shortage. Tell us more about what is happening there, how far are we and when we do it, are we endangering our other conventional pulses or not? Because this will be the first time a GM pulses will be available in the country.
GM cotton is grown in India, and is 92% of our cotton now is GM cotton. And worldwide, 170 million hectare area commercialized with many GM crops, including GM canola, GM corn, GM soybean, etc. Worldwide, lots of work is going on. In India also, in our public sectors, as well as different private sectors, a very active program is going on. Particularly on pigeon pea and chickpea, ICR and along with state agriculture universities, we have put up a massive program on development of the GM, BT, pigeon pea and chickpea. The initial material have already been developed. It is now under evaluation. It shows that it's a very good responses. And this technology is absolutely well understood technology and safe technology that has been used as a BT formulation for last 50 years. So I think if this technology used and the farmers get that material, that would make reduction of pesticide use. At the same time, the benefit would be tremendous.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you. I want to thank Dr. Datta. He needs to leave, but we can't leave him before felicitating him and granting to him a small memento. May I request the organizers to come up with a memento, please?
Thank you. Mr. Chandrasekhar, could you do us the honors, present the memento to Dr. Datta? Ladies and gentlemen, to the Deputy Director General, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Dr. Swapan Kumar Datta, for being here with us. Thank you, sir. And have a good flight.
Any of the team members, IBGA Managing Committee, to accompany Dr. Datta, please. Okay, I'll now request Dr. Gowda to make his presentation. DDG, Deputy Director General of the ICRISAT. ICRISAT, as all of you know, is an international organization specializing in crop research in the semi-arid tropics. They have their Indian headquarters in Hyderabad. Sorry. I'm sure Dr. Datta is going to take us through all the research work that they are doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the organizers of the Pulses Conclave, the Indian Pulses and Grains Association, for inviting me. And although I have been invited earlier, even for the Mumbai conference 2012, I could not come because there were other events that were happening. But in this event, Mr. Chandrasekhar was able to convince me to come here, although I did tell him that I have a major conference that is ongoing in Hyderabad, but he said, you must come. So I came because of the commitment that I made to Mr. Chandrasekhar.
Sir, one sec. I must honestly confess, actually he has some other important engagement in Hyderabad, but it's only to be with us here with this IBGA for this Pulses Conclave and to meet a large number of delegates from across the country and from across the world that Dr. Gowda is here. He has actually changed his program to accommodate his presence here in this event. So we are truly grateful to you, sir. Thank you.
So let me go through this, and I know I am a kind of an odd man out in the business community here among the pulse and grains traders, but let me give you a snapshot of what is in store for the traders and then through them to the consumers for the future. Let me briefly mention about my institution, that is ICRISAT, which is the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, whose vision is a prosperous, food secure, and resilient dryland tropics. All it says, dryland tropics means rain-fed areas which are present in the tropical areas. ICRISAT is an international institution, so we work in many countries around the world, but mostly in Asia and in Africa, but south of Sahara. So those are the places where we are located. Our target is 55 developing countries around the world. Okay, let me just give you a snapshot of what is the current scenario of pulses in India. Dr. Swapan Datta gave. And 2012-13, we had a reasonably good harvest, about 18.4 million tons. This year, supposed to be 19.8 million tons. So, a good progress that is happening. But look at the next slide. In terms of the major chickpea or chana producers, importers, and exporters, you will find India is the largest producer, also the largest importer. But look at the third column. After Australia, India is number 2 in exports. So you will ask me, but I need to ask you, because you are the importers and exporters, to explain why is India also an exporting country. That is because, most likely because we import the desi chickpea and export the high quality Kabuli chickpea to other countries. At least that is what I have worked. Of course, for your information, I am a chickpea breeder. I have spent 40 years of my life developing improved chickpea varieties. So I know chickpea in and out, so that's why I'm able to relate to this crop much more than any other crop. Many people talked about low yields in many developing countries, including India. As you will see there, the current average global yield is less than 1 ton per hectare. But on an average, in well-managed fields, even on the farmers' fields, you can get about 2.5 tons. But we are not getting it. So this is what we call the yield gap. But this yield, but look at the last column on the side. That is the potential yield. The potential